Welcome back from lunch, everybody. So is everyone having a great day so far? Great. It is my great pleasure to introduce Frederique, our keynote speaker, right after lunch today. She is the amazing woman that I met 4 years ago at the very first dinner we had ever hosted for external PMs at Facebook. I remember we met her, and she was so incredible, and I said, I would love to work with you. And she said, actually, I just accepted this job at a small startup called Uber. And I thought, oh, we missed our chance. Maybe if the startup doesn't go anywhere, we can have a follow-up conversation. So she joined a company called Uber when it had 80 people, when they were in 14 cities, and there were 30 people in headquarters, and she was the second product manager. And as you know, over the last 4 years, she has led this tremendous amount of growth, and now there are over 7,000 people in 400 cities. And in these 4 years, she has helped grow their product organization, mentor people, and just become a leading light of the company and of the industry. But what she's also really known for is an article she wrote for First Round, which is called Harnessing Happiness to Lead Your Career. And it went completely viral. Everybody has heard about her article, and if you haven't, you should definitely read it. But it's just incredible about how she brings that energy and happiness to her career and how it's made her successful. And she's here to share some of those lessons with us. And so I'm really honored to be able to introduce Frederique as our keynote speaker.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I hope you had a very nice first half of your day, and I'm honored to be here today. It's great to be part of such an amazing group of women who know what it takes to build product. It's probably the hardest job in the world. And so thank you. So I'm going to share my story now. When I was a teenager, I watched this movie called Working Girl. Don't you love the evolution of the hair? I love it. I watched this movie called Working Girl featuring Melanie Griffith and Sigourney Weaver, and I fell in love with the movie. I loved Melanie Griffith in the role of Tess McGill, just, being a hustler and being passionate and being curious and connecting the dots and becoming eventually this media executive. I just wanted to be a businesswoman. So I went to my dad, and both my parents were dentists at the time, and I asked him, Dad, what would it take for me to be a businesswoman? And he had no idea. He's a dentist. So he's like, well, if you study engineering, I think you can pretty much do whatever you want. So here I am, studying engineering, and I was blessed to love math and physics and to be good at it. So I studied engineering. I went to London to learn to speak English, then moved to the US and started as a market research analyst in San Francisco. Then I became a product manager in enterprise software and really loved consumer product. It was the emergence of social network. And I joined Yahoo as a consumer product manager back in 2004. I worked at a few photo sharing sites, and most recently I was a product manager at Uber. So based on this amazing career, so to speak, a lot of you have been asking me, how do I build my career? How do I get to be an amazing businesswoman? How do I get to make a decision between choosing one career versus another, or even getting to the next level in my company? And I wish I had the answer. And you're all product manager, and you know what it takes to build products. There is no right answer. You have a vision, you have goals, you have a roadmap, you prioritize, and then you keep iterating over and over and over again. And eventually you may get it or not. So managing your career and managing your life is basically like managing a product. So today, I'm going to talk to you about product managing your life. So this means I'm going to share 4 rules. 4 rules. Are you ready? So first rule, be daring. And a lot of people have talked about that. A lot of women have talked about that this morning. You have to be daring. Nothing comes out of staying in your comfort zone. Nothing. You look at Facebook. Facebook launched with a news feed. And it was controversial. Then Facebook launched a lot of Facebook redesigns. And the community was so upset that they were threatening to leave the product. Well, if Facebook hadn't disrupted itself, we wouldn't be here today. We just wouldn't. So you need to be daring. And it can be extremely scary, because what if you fail, right? What if something falls apart and you're like back to square one, if not worse? Well, what I learned about being daring is that when you take a risk, you can be paralyzed by fear. But then if you deconstruct the risk, you realize that it's actually not that bad. You look at deconstructing the risk and looking at your worst-case scenario. And what is the worst-case scenario that can happen? And can you handle it? Chances are you will be able to handle it, because you're prepared and you have a network and you're going to be okay. So if you look at your worst-case scenario, because you're going to have, out of this risk, there can be 10 things that can happen, but your worst-case scenario is just one of the options, and if you're ready for that, you're going to be okay. So being daring is all about trusting yourself to handle the results. And if you can handle the results, you will be okay. What if you decided that you were going to be fine no matter what? Have you thought about that? So this is me. When I wanted to study engineering, it was actually extremely scary. Extremely scary. It was not like this straightforward thing to do. I was the oldest of 13 grandkids. Nobody in my family had studied engineering, and everyone was trying to dissuade me to be an engineer. It was a male-oriented business. It was very hard studies, and I could fail. So I shared my insecurities with my dad, and my dad is amazing because my mom is a dentist too, and he thinks that she's even more badass than he is. So that was something good. So he told me, he's like, look, if you fail, you can always go back to dental school. So he wanted me to be a dentist and take over the family practice. So that was an option. But the other way around was not possible in France. If you applied to dental school and started at dental school, you couldn't go back to engineering. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do engineering, and then if it doesn't work out, no shame, I can always go back to dental school. And this is how I started. And next thing you know, I have a Master of Science in Telecom Engineering and one Master of Science in Spacecraft Technology and Satellite Communication. And then the other thing about looking at your worst-case scenario is that when you're freaking out about taking a risk, a lot of your energy is going to be about the what if. And you're going to obsess about what if, what if, what if. But if now you know that you can handle the worst-case scenario, you're not distracted by this, and your energy can be full speed into that risk. And you have even more power. The people that believe they rebound have a lot more power. If you know you can be okay no matter what, you're going to have even more power. That's what happened when I joined Uber. This is the Uber crew. My birthday 3 years ago with Travis. When I joined Uber, I really wanted to work with a team of amazing people and a product that had a very clear mission. So I interviewed with a bunch of companies, and I really fell in love with the people at Uber. It was a small team that was very passionate, and Travis had a very clear vision about what he wanted to build. But it was risky. 80 people, 30 people at HQ, and it was a blackout business that people would only use on Saturday night, and it was expensive. Plus, you think about all the regulatory issues that we had, it was pretty, scary. But then you know what? I had 10 years of experience in product management. I had a great network. I had savings. And I knew that if it was going to fall apart, I would be okay no matter what. I would find my next jobs through my network. I would find a few consulting gigs until then, and I would be okay. And it helped me focus on just going full speed ahead with Uber. And it was an amazing adventure as well. But then, let's be honest. You're going to fail, and I'm going to fail, and we're going to encounter that worst-case scenario. And we probably all did at some point. So my rule number 2, you have to fail elegantly. And I'm not just talking about wearing nice clothes here. There are a lot of things that are going to be beyond your control. You look at building product. You focus on building amazing product, and next thing you know, the market shifts. You have a competitor that comes out of the woodwork, and your product strategy and your product are just like irrelevant, and you need to start all over again. Well, there is one thing that is under your control, is how you respond. And I have to tell you, if you respond elegantly, and if you fail elegantly, more power to you. Because the experience is going to be much better. And also people will remember someone who has poise and is really resilient under pressure. So being elegant is really about being positive, because there are a lot of things that are going to go bad. And 10 years from now, when you went through like 3 of these cycles of worst case scenario, and you look back at this event where you failed and it went really bad, do you want to remember yourself as being like, resilient and handling it with elegance, or do you want to remember someone that felt like a victim and was mad at everyone and burned bridges? You don't want that. So you really want to look at how can I be as elegant as possible. So when this is one of my favorite nail polish. I choose my nail polish color based on the name. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, this is cool. So 2 years into my career, I got laid off. September 11 happened. It was a tragedy. And the world collapsed, and my world collapsed. I got laid off. I was 26. I had 2 years of experience. I had no savings. I had just bought a car, and I had a very expensive rent. I had barely any connection. It was before LinkedIn or Facebook existed. And I was on a visa. And I just got laid off from one day to another. And it was so scary. Like, you have no idea. I was like, what just happened here? And I don't want to go back to France. Well, I got lucky to have a girlfriend who told me, like, you can stay at my place for a few months. That's okay. Like, not a few weeks, a few months. So I put everything in storage, kept a few outfits that I could wear at interviews, and every morning at 8 a.m., I would be at her kitchen table looking at ways to network through Yahoo groups, at finding the right social event I could go to, and eventually I found a job. And you know what? I could have been a victim and give up. But no, I wanted to hustle, and I wanted to really get to my next job in Silicon Valley. The positive of this is that I became a product manager as part of this transition, and I realized that my network, the very tiny network that I had in the US, was actually amazing. People opened their address book to me. I looked for it, and people were just like so helpful and so supportive that I'm like, okay, next time it happens to someone, I'm going to pay it forward. And it was the most incredible experience, and I look back and I'm so glad that I was so resilient, and I handled it with elegance. And then, as good product manager, like, sometimes you're not going to be as elegant and resilient as you would like it to be. But it's a way to learn about yourself. Did you make the right decision that got you into this situation, or did you know in your gut that it was something that you shouldn't have done in the first place? You iterate as product manager. Why don't you iterate on your life? Why don't you do postmortem? Like, this is very important to, don't just go through life by just like moving through phases and not really looking back. You need to look back and learn the lesson and be very, very productive about What did I learn, and what can I do better to handle this scenario even better next time? This is one of my favorite slides or picture of the presentation. We had a hackathon at Uber on Thanksgiving of 2013, and one of our postmortem items was to lower the number of WTF per minute. That weekend was hard. Isn't it awesome? So that's about being resilient and doing things with elegance and really learn the lesson and do better every time. Don't be hard on yourself being like, oh, I was negative. Like, do better every time. Which brings me to rule number 3. Build connection. You have to build connection. Like, your network is it's incredibly cliche, but your network is your net worth. And I tell you, most of your career decision and mobility will depend on your network. I haven't found one job in 15 years of working in the Valley through sending resumes. I send millions of resumes, don't get me wrong. But I only got jobs through connections because people knew me personally, could vouch for me, and support me along the way of finding the right match for my personality and my culture within a company. So really, you need to think about your connection. I have this metaphor that I really love that is about like walking a tightrope, and beneath you, you have this safety net. So when you fall, this safety net will catch you. And guess what? Every string of this safety net is a connection. And if you don't nurture this connection over and over and over again, your safety net is not going to be strong. And when you fall, who is going to catch you? It's really, really important to have a network and to have a strong network. And you really need to nurture it. So best relationships are long-term ones where you can both give back to each other over many times. Relationship and building a network is not about short-term relationships. And you look at yourself in this room right now, and you're all amazing and talented product manager, and there is a lot of things you can do together. But you need to build this connection over and over and over again. I came here this morning, and I ran into so many of my Yahoo friends. And it was amazing to see. And then I ran into Uber friends, and it was amazing to see. And these are people sometimes I didn't see for the longest time, and some people that I keep seeing and that are in my life over and over again. This is a picture of my team at Uber, at Yahoo, back in 2007. We had just launched our product, and we were all celebrating. And it was almost 10 years ago, and most of these people, and all of these people actually, have built amazing things. And we are still all in touch. You have Hao on the right-hand side, who is now an engineering manager at Uber. Because she's terrific. She was my engineering manager, and I wanted to work with her at Uber. And then you look at the way I got my job at Uber even. I met one of my friends at Yahoo, and then he joined a VC. Next thing you know, I'm friends with most of the partners at that VC. And then one day at Starbucks, I run into one of them, and he's like, "What are you doing here at Starbucks?" I'm like, "Well, I'm doing some consulting project, and I'm kind of working on my next step." He's like, "Give me a call. I want you in one of my portfolio company." He make introduction to TaskRabbit, Uber, Birchbox. I talked to all of them, and I ended up joining Uber. But then good networking is all about finding commonalities and leaning into them. You look at people that want to network, and they ask me, like, how do I do good networking? It's not about being product managers. Like, you're all amazing product managers, we get it. You need to build authentic relationship with each other. You need to find the commonalities with each other that will create these forever memories about, oh my God, I remember you from the conference. We share, commonalities about having a family and trying to find a work-life balance. This is very important to find that bond. This is me and teammates at Uber. We were all about soul cycling. And yes, we would work together, but we would also soul cycle together. And I think having these commonalities are extremely, extremely important. Rule number 4, last rule and the most important one. Finding your squad, your hashtag girl squad. We talk a lot about mentorship, and we talk a lot about mentoring and having mentees and having advocates. And I will never say enough that white men have actually been part of the mentorship journey and have been super supportive to me. But my girlfriends have been amazing. Vicky, that I met at Yahoo back in 2007, that was a cube next to me, is one of my best friends. Met in 2007, 7 years after I started my career. We were both born in a foreign country. She was born and raised in Greece. I was born and raised in France. And we had this value of being passionate about product management and wanting to be VP of product for the longest time. And then we did that, and we hated it. We wanted to just roll up our sleeves and really do great things and build great product. And it was hard to just be like, do I really want to step back from a VP of role, or do I really want to be happy? And we had this struggle where she would call me and be like, do I suck? And I would call her and be like, am I crazy? And having these people in your life that have this back and forth, it's not a mentor that you meet once a month. It's someone you can text anytime on a crisis, that you can call, that you can soul cycle with, that will make a huge difference in your life because you're going through the same thing together every day. Then I have Natala, who is also here, that I met in 2002 at the Junior League. We both had these values and this passion for giving back. And we became friends very early on, and then we lost touch for 7 years. So don't beat yourself if you have friends and then you lose touch and you reconnect or not. But it's a journey. It's not about finding people that are just with you every step of the way. It's about finding people that make a difference in your life, or you make a difference in their life on a day-to-day basis. So Natala, we connected 2 years ago over very personal things. We both were going through the same things. And we connected, and she's also a PM. And so we also would coach each other on building careers as well. So we really had something in common, and she's part of my journey. And then you have Lisa, that you have probably never met because she's not in tech. I met her at the Junior League too. And this is to show you that not all of your girlfriends and supporter and girl squad are going to be in tech. And sometimes there is value to it. She's an entrepreneur. She manages people. And she gives me another perspective about what it takes to manage people, or even to step back about being so wrapped up into this tech world, about who knows who. It's so good to have this kind of sanity check once in a while about someone who is very non-biased on the tech stuff and really bring me back to my values about what it is to be authentic and to really speak my truth and not look at all the fame and all the people that are in this world that sometimes I don't relate to. So these are my girl squad. That said, I hope that your next iteration starts now and that you remember these 4 rules. You have to be daring. You have to fail elegantly, build connections, and find your squad. And you're in the best room right now to start friendship with people that will probably make a huge difference in your journey from now on. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Frederique.
Thank you.